So yeah, it's a busy time of year as we approach the end of quarter, and there's lots of things to do. If you fail to plan, your plan could fail. Old Benji Franklin over there said, and he's on the US currency, so he must be fairly influential, know what he's talking about. But we're going to sort of cover and think about all the things except from big room planning, big room retro, that you need to do at the end of the quarter. So really, there's many more important things to get right at this time of year. So we often get focused on the quarterly review, quarterly retro, big room planning, and those are really important things to do. Sometimes they become a bit of a tick box checking exercise. And people don't get a lot of value out of those things. But there's lots of other things you need to focus on that we think you should focus on at this time of year in terms of coming to an end of quarter. So we're going to go through 3 things which we think are top tips to pay attention to and really uplift capability in your organization. So the first one of those is around objectives and key results. So one of the pain points I often see around organizations that have set their OKRs is they spend a lot of time sending a lot of time and effort and putting their OKRs, but they then forget about them for the whole of the quarter until it comes to the end of the quarter, and then they go, oh, what were our OKRs and what did we say we were going to measure? And really, that's you're throwing your time away in doing OKRs because you've set and forget. You wasted your time and you're not getting any value out of that. And also, it's because OKRs are an implementation of your strategy. It means that you're not doing potentially the right work for your strategy. So you're losing out on everything, your time, and potentially doing work that doesn't matter. Another problem is that when I have seen OKRs that are set, is that they're on-off, and the whole purpose of objectives and key results is they're aspirational, and they allow you to stretch. And in allowing you to stretch, you should be scoring them. And 2 examples there. So, the board approves the brand refresh campaign by February. Well, they either approve it or they don't. They either do it by February or they don't. And again, funding approval requests. So the problem about having a key result, which is on or off, is you can either score it, 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. What you should be doing is putting a number or a metric in there so you can go, and that should be a stretch metric as well. So you go, hey, we'll be happy with a 7, but if we get 8 or 9 or 10, that'd be awesome. So just, get going with however your key results are, but take a look at them and see if they're on-off key results. And if they are, think about how you can make them better and more measurable. Ooh, let's delete that one. Zoom in here. The next one is that OKRs don't become part of your operating rhythm. It's a bit like set and forget, but actually what you should be thinking about is where in our operating rhythm, where in all our meetings do we have on a monthly, weekly basis, where and what's the opportunity do we actually take time to go, this is the point in our meeting or our operating rhythm that we review our key results and our progress against them. So if you don't allow time and actually plan time and bake it into your operating rhythm, then you're going to forget about them. They're going to be set and forget. What you should be doing is creating OKRs that actually people want to talk about the progress of them around the water cooler or on a Friday afternoon around beer and pizza. So they should be front of mind. They should be baked into your operating rhythm, and actually make the time, bake it into your operating rhythm, and ensure you're reviewing them. The other mistake I see a lot in some organizations is that OKRs have become just a replacement for for KPIs, and they cascade. Now, a lot of the early work around OKRs sort of said, well, actually, you get your company in OKR, then it goes to the department, then goes to the group, and then goes to the business unit, and then down to the team, and then also then down to individuals. And by the time you've cascaded all of that, you've actually created all the bureaucracy that OKRs were meant to destroy, meant to flip. So some of the more recent work, Radical Focus from Catherine Woodkey, she states, hey, if you've got your company OKRs, it's okay that your team OKRs or your department OKRs plug directly into those company OKRs. And if you've got a BAU team, maybe they don't need OKRs at all, because it's really hard for BAU teams to set objectives and then key results. Perhaps they just need KPIs. If they're the teams that keep the engine running, they just, it's hard for incremental sort of objectives to be done. So just doing KPIs for those BAU teams as well. So those 4 challenges I see regularly across some of our clients that we work with. I guess the next question is then, what problems are you seeing or experiencing with OKRs?
And let's see what's happening. Ooh, we're getting some results.
Yeah, setting OKR for the quarter gets a really tiring exercise if your objectives change every quarter. Maybe you should be reviewing them, and the key results might change from quarter to quarter. But the objectives should be a bit longer lasting, unless it depends on your industry, like if it's a really fast paced industry, but generally the people we work with, the objectives tend to last certainly more than 1 quarter.
Ooh, look at those.
Fluffy, yeah, too many, absolutely. Key results activities, yeah, key results should be the measure of what you want to happen, and then the activities should be derived from how you're going to make that shift. Jarad, am I coming to you now?
Sure. If I can't believe I'm going to do this. If I take your Clint Eastwood throwaway line and say, like, to be honest, what we see is kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. So what we see is things like, and it's probably to some of those questions, some of those points that were made there. We see, and I've seen teams do this, or areas, tribes, value streams, for example, do it all the time. They take a whole quarter to actually draft their OKRs. Do you know what? They don't need to be perfect, and trust me, they're not going to be perfect. So just get on and do it. Try and time box it, keep it short rather than longer, and then evolve it from there based on what happens in the quarter. I think I see good buy-in is when it's really that 60-40 at least conversation. It really is drafted from the bottom up. And then there's buy-in from the leadership levels of going, great, here's our feedback and inputs on it to build upon it, rather than this is what you need to do. There's the OKRs, and they get fed. And the last one is there's often a really big cultural shift in moving from being 100, that focus on we need to do all 100% of these. As Pete said, like the good companies like Google are only ever trying to do about 70% of these. They've got those stretch targets in there on purpose. And that's really move away from that whole stick mentality and the very KPI traditional way of looking at those type of things. But with that, that's where leadership courage really comes in. And you need that to come to the fore to be willing to be able to do that. And we're not going to try and do 100% and change the narrative within a system. And at the same time, the courage to be able to be transparent about that, because that's hard and that's true leadership.
Thanks, Jarad. All right. So those are all the problems. Those are all the challenges. So what are we going to do about it? Here's our 4 takeaway tips around OKRs that you can implement straight away. First one is bake them into your operating rhythm. I've already mentioned this one, but it's really key. If I can't emphasize it enough, if you don't bake it into your operating rhythm, you're going to forget about your OKRs. People aren't going to talk about them. The second one is appoint an OKR custodian, or sheriff, if you like, if we're doing good, bad, and the ugly. So someone who's accountable, whose role is to go, hey, I'm the person that makes sure that it's in the operating rhythm. I'm the person that makes sure OKRs are set and reviewed, and they're good OKRs, and that they're stretch ones, and I can coach people on OKRs. So if you have someone that's accountable, they're going to make your OKRs better. Third one is visualize and make it front of mind. So if you don't see it, you're going to forget about it. People aren't going to talk about them. They're going to forget what the objectives are and the key results, and they're going to just focus on the work. And when you focus on the work, that's when it tends to drift and the work doesn't become strategically aligned. So make them visual. If you're in a physical office, have them up on the wall, have a Kanban board, and I'm going to show you one of those later. And the fourth one is find a tool that works for you. Start simple, paper and pen, spreadsheets. There's also many software tools out there, ones specifically for OKRs, and also things you already have using in your organization that you can use for OKRs. So let's give you some examples of these. So here is our here's a slide. Put your mission on, what's your objective, when's it due, what are the key results? So you can use these and visualize these around your organization. We're going to give this as a download for you to take away after this, I think by email. And it's got some top tips for OKRs on that one. Here's your Kanban board. So this is a really good visual way of seeing when you have your operating rhythm, when should we be talking about it and which key results should we be focusing on. Don't worry about the ones you've achieved or ones on track. This, objective 3 for KR2 is behind target. Let's talk about that one. And there's some standalone OKR software. There's heaps out there. There's other stuff, but there's 3 I want to call out. Profit, I think, is a free tool. They're also paid different versions of it. Microsoft Goals. So if you're a Microsoft shop, there's Viva Goals, which you can turn on depending on your license, and Quantive, which was previously GTM Hub. But as I said, those are 3 that I know about that I've used as standalone software. There's other HRIS software that also includes sort of key objectives and key results as well. And that's a really nice coffee machine.